What's going on, Birdland? Stephen Heckman here for the Final Strike podcast, brought to you by the Baltimore Battery, coming to you today after the Baltimore Orioles win their first series of the season, their opening series at Camden Yards. So it's their first home series as well against the Minnesota Twins, taking 2 of the 3 games. It was an interesting series to say the least. They did win on opening day. Tyler Rogers looked the part. Every bit of a number one starter that we needed him to be. 7 strong innings of scoreless baseball. Kyle Bradish came in, followed behind. Looked like he had some control issues. Maybe a little bit of nerves were getting the best of him, or he was just overthrowing because it looked like some of his pitches were sealing up. Usually when a pitcher is actually overthrowing and trying to, just throw the ball in there instead of pitch the ball usually will sail up on you. I know that from personal experience. And then Shane Baz, who actually signed a 5-year, $68 million extension on opening day before he ever threw a pitch for the Baltimore Orioles in the regular season, actually looked pretty good today. Did have one bad inning, basically was started from a misplayed fly ball in center field. Unfortunately, Dylan Beavers did lose it in the sun. Clear as day. You could see he lost it in the sun. Called it before it even happened. And then followed that up. Baz hit a batter, and that pretty much opened the inning for the Twins. They had a 3-run double and then an RBI single and take a 4-0 lead. A lot of times teams will pretty much give up at that point. But this is a Baltimore Orioles team that has been known in the past to fight back from deficits, and that's what they did today. Tyler O'Neill, who has vowed to be better than last year and wants to be better than last year, opened the things up for the Baltimore Orioles with a 3-run home run, the first home run for an Orioles player this season. And that pretty much opened the gates for the Baltimore Orioles en route to an 8-6 victory. So definitely good start to the year. Always great to win your first series, especially your first home series. Minnesota Twins are a scrappy team. The first 2 games were kind of as I expected. Low scoring affair against a team that has pretty decent pitching and is going to hit some home runs to basically win the game. The 2-1 victory was exactly what I expected. 4-1 loss. Pitching-wise, it was kind of what I expected. Offensive-wise, it wasn't what I expected from us. 16 strikeouts in that game is definitely reminiscent of last year. And anybody who knows me, I've talked about this over the last 3 years of doing this. Strikeouts are a big thing with me. I feel wasted opportunities. I feel strikeout is just giving away outs when you're a batter and you're striking out. And I know strikeouts are going to happen, but in today's game, strikeouts are almost like, people don't care about them as much as they should. I grew up in a time where, people like Tony Gwynn would walk more than strike out. It was, a shock if Tony Gwynn struck out more than 50 times in a season. Those are the types of ball players I grew up around. Wade Boggs, very seldom struck out more than 100 times in a year. So, seeing these numbers with batters striking out 150, 190, and 200 times in a season is just mind-blowing to me. And I know it's a different game. I know the game evolves, and I know things different. But when you don't even have pitchers pitching 200 innings anymore, and yet you have batters that are striking out 200 times, those things kind of might get mind-blowing. I mean, it's kind of scary. You don't have pitchers getting 300 strikeouts in a season anymore. So if pitchers aren't striking batters out as much, how come batters are striking out more? That's what's blowing my mind is batters are striking out more now with pitchers striking out less. And it blows my mind. I grew up in a time where, Nolan Ryan, who set the record for most strikeouts by a pitcher, and will probably never be broken. And, people took pride in the fact that they would not strike out as much in a season, or would get less than 100 strikeouts in a season. And nowadays, Pitchers aren't even pitching 200 innings and aren't even striking out 300 batters in a season. It's kind of like, wait a minute, what am I missing here? How are batters striking out so much more and pitchers striking out less batters than what I'm used to seeing? It's just mind-blowing, but that's what your bullpen's for. Your bullpen's coming in, and you got these guys coming in here throwing, well, look at Ryan Helsley today. He threw 102 miles an hour today. He threw in his first game with the Baltimore Orioles, he threw more 100-mile-per-hour pitches in that game than the Orioles as a team through the entirety of 2025. That's just mind-blowing. That's a mind-blowing stat when you think about it. I mean, it was something back then when Nolan Ryan threw over 100 miles an hour. But I digress. We're not here to talk about back then anything. We're here to talk about today, and we're here to talk about the Baltimore Orioles. Before the series got underway, it was announced Shane Baz signed a 5-year, $68 million extension. Fantastic. I like to see that the Orioles are investing in young, promising talent. Last August we signed Samuel Basallo to a 8-year, $67 million contract. So that is another investment into a young prospect. And then over the winter we signed Pete Alonso to a 5-year, $155 million contract. Now, the reason I bring up Pete Alonso is because between those three contracts, they are three of the sixth largest contracts in Oriole history, and they've all been signed since August of last season. Shows the Orioles have a penchant of actually willing to spend money now and an ownership group that is behind them. And an article was posted today that I wrote talking about how Baltimore is now becoming an area where players as well as new fans are going to want to visit and come to because of the upgrade in the facilities, the amenities, not only for the fans but the players, even the spring training facilities, the Dominican facilities that the Orioles have spent so much money improving. They have really invested in making Baltimore a area that players are wanting to come to, not only to play, but to be a part of something special. And in the press conference with Shane Baz, David Rubenstein said that, Mike Elias is the baseball guy. He knows baseball. They don't. And they would be willing to back Mike Elias on the financials as long as it makes sense for the team. So basically, it's kind of giving Mike Elias an open checkbook. How much of an open checkbook, we don't know. Now, rumor has come out since spring training this year that the Orioles apparently did offer Gunnar Henderson an extension last spring. Now, how much validity to that is or what was offered, we don't know. Apparently, that offer was not accepted. Now, Scott Boras is his agent, and anybody who knows Scott Boras knows that he is not a fan of his players signing extensions before they reach free agency. We do have Gunnar Henderson for another 3 seasons after this year, so wrapping him up is kind of crucial, but you kind of understand why Scott Boras, especially with a player of his talent, would want him to test the free agent market. And a lot of people are looking at this like, oh no, this is another Manny Machado situation. And, in the back of our heads, we have to look at it that way. The only difference is we don't have a cheapskate owner like we had with the Angeloses. Back then we knew there was no chance in hell we would sign Manny Machado. There is a possibility we sign Gunnar Henderson. My problem is I think it's going to take $600 million as a starting point to sign Gunnar Henderson. And the reason I say that is because Vladimir Guerrero got $500 million. Personally, I think Gunnar Henderson's better than Vladimir Guerrero. And I'm not saying that as a biasness because I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan. I'm saying that because I look at the overall picture. Vladimir Guerrero is a good talent. Do not get me wrong. But Gunnar Henderson brings more to a team in a more demanding position as a more high-profile player with speed, power, agility, and can hit to all corners of the field. And, he does not, even on a down season like he had last year, he still hit you 17 home runs, stole you 30 bases. He still hit 272, if I'm correct. I think it was 272 last year. Let's double check that real quick. I don't want to be mistaken here. He's off to a slow start this year. What did he hit last year? 2025. 274. I was off a little bit. But he still hit you 274, and that was with a shoulder injury, mind you. So he wasn't even fully healthy. Still hit you 17 home runs. He still had an OPS of 787, which was his lowest of his career. He had 788 in 2022, his first year of call-up. Then he had 814 and 893. So 787 with an injured shoulder. And he still was able to swipe you 30 bases. Okay. Mind you, he's swiped 10, 21, and 30 bases in his 3 full seasons. So the possibility of him being a 20-20 or a 30-30 man is there too. He can do what Bobby Witt Jr. does. And I don't think people realize how talented Gunnar Henderson is, that he is capable of doing that. And he only got caught 5 times. In the 63 steals that he's done in his career, he's only been caught 14 times. And Bobby Witt's fast. Don't get me wrong. I think Bobby Witt is a hell of a ball player, but I think people forget just how talented Gunnar Henderson truly is. And I think a lot of that is because Bobby Witt Jr. is so fast, they don't understand how fast Gunnar Henderson truly is. And I think that's why a contract north of $500 million easily is going to have to start about $600 million for Gunnar Henderson. You're probably going to be looking at 10 years minimum. If I wanted to lock up Gunnar Henderson right now, I would easily go to him and, I'd say 10 to 12 years at 600 to 650 million. Take it or leave it. And if they don't want to, that's fine. I'm still going to keep him. And I would probably, qualifying offer. And I'm hoping with this next collective bargaining agreement, depending how nasty things get there, that there is some type of language that's added to this. Because, they do it in the NFL, they do it in the NBA. I'm not sure if they do it in hockey, but they have it where your best players, you have the ability to retain them in some aspect without another team taking them from you. So like in the NBA, your best player, you can offer a larger contract than any other team can offer them. So like if your best player, we'll take Gunnar Henderson in the NBA. So if your best player, the best a team can offer them contract wise is like 4 years, $100 million. You have the ability to offer them 5 years at $150 million. That's just a scenario. It's basically how the concept works. Whereas in football, you have the franchise tag that you can use, which basically you have the exclusive franchise tag, which prevents them from actually talking to any other team. Or you have the regular franchise tag, which means if they do sign with another team, that you actually get compensated picks for. With baseball, you have a qualifying offer, and the qualifying offer basically just, it rejects and you get, basically like a competitive balance round pick. Nothing too outlandish. And I'm sorry, for somebody like Gunnar Henderson to extend a qualifying offer, and if all I'm getting is one competitive balance round pick out of it, what is to stop me from not trading him the year before or trading him during the offseason? Or before the offseason gets here. There's no incentive not to, especially if you have a player who has an agent like Scott Boras, who usually doesn't allow his players to sign before free agency starts. So I'm hoping once they get past all the other BS with the CBA, that something like that's put in there to help teams keep their players, their bigger name players. Because I'm sorry, a player like Elly De La Cruz, Cincinnati shouldn't be able to lose him. It's a team that doesn't have the ability to sign massive contracts like the Mets, the Yankees, Boston, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to put Baltimore in that category now because Baltimore has an ownership group that has 8 of the top 100 billionaires in the world in their ownership group. So they have the ability to sign these contracts. I know they're a smaller market team. They're a mid-market team, basically, but they still have the ability to do it. And pretty much any team does. It's whether the team owner wants to spend that type of money and is willing to take a loss. Any ownership group is going to take a loss in any sports revenue team they do. So, those are the things, and there's a lot of players that the Orioles have that they've got to look into. I mean, Jackson Holliday has Scott Boras as a free agent. Um, don't know if Colton Cowser does. Jordan Westberg, I think, does. Adley Rutschman does not. I honestly would still keep Adley Rutschman, too. I know a lot of people don't think we should, but as James McCann proved a couple of years ago with Adley Rutschman, having 2 good catchers on your team is very important. And I'm sorry, I think Samuel Basallo offensively will help Adley Rutschman, just like Adley Rutschman defensively will help Samuel Basallo. So I think having 2 good quality catchers on the team is a very strong thing. And if we can have Samuel Basallo and Adley Rutschman coexist together, it's just going to benefit us. It's going to benefit our pitching staff. And I honestly, right now, I think is the perfect time to extend an offer to Adley Rutschman. We can get him probably 4 years, something like $125 million, maybe even $100 million. And I think he'd take it. I really do. But then you got people like Dylan Beavers coming. You've got Trevor Rogers, who's a free agent at the end of this year. Kyle Bradish, who's a free agent after 2027. That's if we have a 2027 baseball season, which I personally don't think we will. We discussed this before in one of the previous podcasts. So we'll see what happens with that. Other news, Dean Kramer was sent down before the start of the season. Can't say I was honestly too shocked at that. He kind of has a massive 6+ ERA in the month of April. He's always been a slow starter. So I'm not too upset about it. The soonest he can come back is actually April 9th. I don't foresee it being too big of a deal. I do think maybe we do get into a little bit of a 6-man rotation thing going forward for a little bit, just to help Kyle Bradish, Shane Baz, and maybe even Zach Eflin, just because you have Kyle Bradish, who's coming off the Tommy John surgery. He only pitched like 39 innings last year when he came back. You have Shane Baz. He's in the second season off a Tommy John surgery. And then you have Zach Eflin, who is coming off a back surgery that caused him to miss the second half of last year. So you have 3 pitchers who, that extra rest might actually benefit them going forward and actually help us down this line later on in the season when we start getting into those tighter postseason races. So if we do go to a 6-man rotation, I can honestly say it would not be a bad thing. It would take an extra player out of our bullpen, but at the same time, it also would give you the ability that you could use one of those pitchers on longer rest in a pinch as a couple inning replacement in the bullpen. So it does help with a 6-man rotation because you can use the pitcher in multiple ways too. So there's some benefit there. Other good news is Jackson Holliday was supposed to start a rehab assignment this past Friday. So we should be seeing him hopefully relatively soon. Still waiting to see what's going on with Jordan Westberg when he can start his rehab assignment. Getting him and Holliday back, I think, will be big for the team. Although so far, Jeremiah Jackson just won't stop hitting. The kid just keeps hitting. Every time you put him up there, he hits. And Blaze Alexander has been filling in serviceably well. So, there's going to be some tough decisions that are going to have to be made at that point. Leody Taveras might be the odd man out there, and that's because Jeremiah Jackson can actually play the outfield. When Jordan Westberg comes back, that's when we're going to start to get into a bigger pinch on who goes that. And unfortunately, at that time, it'll probably be Jeremiah Jackson, as much as I love the kid. But a healthy Jordan Westberg is very crucial to our team and very important to our team in many, many ways. So I can see how that would benefit us. I can honestly say the biggest thing I've seen and takeaways that I will say from the first series, if I had to knock one big thing, we had a total of 29 strikeouts across the 3 games. So you're talking about almost 9 strikeouts per game. We had 5 walks today. Let's see. How many walks did we have yesterday? I don't think it was as much as I hope. We had 6 walks yesterday, so that's 11 walks. And then in the first game, we had 3 walks. So 29 strikeouts and 14 walks across the 3 games. So basically, it's 9 walks or 9 strikeouts and 4 walks per game. The walks, I'm not too upset about. I'll take 4 walks a game anytime. That's just extra base runners. You're giving, extra opportunities there. The strikeouts, you're taking away opportunities. When you talk about this is an interesting way that I see this, okay? 9 strikeouts a game is basically taking away a third of your game, okay? That you're not even going to do anything off of home plate. So that leaves 6 innings that you're basically hoping that you can score. And people are like, what do you mean by that? Okay, so you get 3 batters per inning. If all 3 batters strike out, they're gone. Okay, that inning's trash. So if you have 3 innings where all 3 batters strike out each time, that only leaves 6 innings where you're actually getting opportunities to get on base. All right, it's a little thing that I worked out a few years ago that shows basically how often an offense has to score. When you're striking out 9 times a game, you're only giving yourself 6 innings, which is basically 18 times a game to score because you get 3 outs in an inning. So you're taking 27 outs, taking 9 batters away because they're striking out. Leaves you 18 opportunities to score in a game. Compare that to what the other team is striking out, and you can see the difference in who has the edge in scoring versus who doesn't. And it basically can come out to show you how a team wins and loses a game. It's an interesting way to determine a scoring system and who basically has the edge in a series. It's not as complicated as it sounds because you basically can you go to the season stats of a team, you look at how many strikeouts they have on the year, basically divide that by 3, and you can see how many innings that basically covers. And then you do the same thing to the other team. And you can see basically how many outs you're eliminating or how many innings you're eliminating yourself per game to score. And then when you take walks, so 4 walks basically gives you an inning and a third extra to score. So in that situation, if you're striking out 9 times a game and you're walking 4 times a game, so that leaves you 6 innings to score, but you take the 4 walks. That leaves you 7 and a third innings to score because your 4 walks is 3 walks is 3 outs back, and then the 1 out. And that shows how efficient your offense can be. It's just a little thing I figured out a few years ago. And most of the time when you actually do it, the team that strikes out less and walks more is the team who 9 times out of 10 is the victor. And I developed this system back in 2021 with the Orioles when they were in the process of losing their games, 100 games. Because I wanted to see what the likelihood of them having an opportunity to win a game was or win a series was. And it pretty much stuck true for most of the season. the more they struck out, the less opportunity they had to win, and was one of the main reasons that they lost as much as they did. That's why I'm a big component, and you'll hear me complain as much as I do about a team striking out as much as they do, or a team not capitalizing as much as they do when they get players on base. It drove me crazy yesterday that the Orioles, in the first 6 innings of a game, had 10 runners on base and did not score. It was the most frustrating thing in the world, because you have 6 innings, which is a total of 18 outs. And of those 18 outs, you had 10 runners on base. Those are just extra outs that you gave yourself to score, and you couldn't capitalize with it. That's the difference between winning and losing a game. And those are the things that frustrate me. And I know it's beginning of the year, but as I said yesterday to the guys in the group, this is not just a one-day thing. This is something that has been a problem for the Baltimore Orioles for the past few years. They do not capitalize with runners on base. We have new pitching coaches that apparently their philosophy is more patience, more discipline at the plate, and yet we're not seeing it yet. So still early in the season, we'll see what happens going forward. We won our first series, so I'm not going to bitch too much. It's still the first series of the season, so I can't complain too much, but I can nitpick, and I can win. But we'll see what happens next. We're going to welcome the Texas Rangers to town, which means we're going to see Chris Bassett make his Orioles debut. We're going to see Zach Eflin make his return to the Orioles, healthier than last time. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's a good series. We have, I think it's a 3-game series. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, because we're off Thursday before we go away to Pittsburgh, if I'm correct. Yep. It's 3 home against Texas. We're off Thursday. Then we go away to Pittsburgh and then Chicago White Sox before we're off again and return home against San Francisco and Arizona. See if we have projected pitching matchups to start. So the first game is going to be Jack Leiter against Chris Bassett. Second game is projected to be, they haven't named a pitcher for Texas, against Zach Eflin. And then the third game is going to be determined against Trevor Rogers. So we already know who's pitching for us. Texas has only announced 1 game. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Orioles continue their success off of the first series and can take another series, especially against Texas. I know Texas frustrates us, especially since last time we saw Texas was in the playoffs. Well, I think the bat was last season, but before that, we saw them in the playoffs, and they knocked us out. So we still have some chips on our shoulders about that. But we'll see what happens. So I want to wish everybody a happy Palm Sunday. I do want to wish everybody a safe and wonderful Easter. We will not be putting out a podcast next week, but please tune in the following weekend, because we will be having a podcast and we will be having a special guest appear. You'll have to tune in to find out who it is, but I will tell you it is going to be a wonderful opportunity, wonderful time with a great person from a great group. So please make sure you tune into that. Make sure that not only do you like and share this, but you are subscribed. Subscription is free. All you have to do is just follow us, and that does it. The more we get our numbers up, the more we're going to be able to have live We're going to be able to go live and then actually have live shows where we get to have you on and you can ask questions and we can answer them live as we're communicating with you. So that's what we want to get to, because we want to make you more involved with this, maybe even watch games with you at the same time so you can ask questions while the games are going on. We can have a Q&A session with me and one of our guests or even somebody from the Baltimore Battery. I think it'd be a lot of fun to include you all more involved, get you all more involved. So make sure you like, you share, make sure you follow. I say subscribe because in YouTube it does say subscribe. Make sure you like, share, and follow. Let your friends know, please, and comment. What do you want to hear? What do you want to ask? What do you want to know? I want you to all be a part of this. This is our 4th year, and I couldn't be here without you all. You're a big part of our success. You're a big part of why we're continuing to do this and able to do this, and I want to thank you very much for that. Also, I want to give a big shout out to the Baltimore Battery. Obviously, without them, I wouldn't be here. Don't forget to head over to thebaltimorebattery.com and check out the wonderful amount of articles that we have out right now. There's a ton of wonderful stuff. Jared has actually been putting out a ton of stuff lately. Zach's got a bunch going out. Justin's got some things out. RJ just went through the AL East and did a preview of team by team. I've got a few things out as well. So we're constantly pumping new things out on a regular basis. Don't forget thebaltimorebattery.com and make sure you're following us on X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok at the Be More Battery. Don't forget to follow me on X, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at SRJ Heckman. You can also find The Final Strike on X at The Final Strike _. I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Advanced Mobility Solution, formerly Scooters for Rent. If you are in the Maryland, Delaware, Eastern Shore area and you are looking for mobility products, from handicap mobility scooters to manual Beats electric wheelchairs, or even lift recliners, don't forget to give them a call. Tell them Steven from The Final Strike sent you at 302-280-6203. And last but not least, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to you all. Like I said, without you all, we wouldn't be here. So I thank you for all your love, all your support. And Birdland, until next time, please make sure to keep the beer cold. Make sure to remember we fly different, and peace out. We'll catch you on the other side.